Hello everybody, welcome to my first battle report in what seems like ages. I've moved city, I've moved from Beijing. I live in a place called Suzhou now, which is not so far from Shanghai. And I've got myself a little gaming community here in Suzhou with 4 other guys, one of whom I was playing today. We're on smaller games at the moment, but that's going to change pretty soon. But today I was up against Jake. Jake has started playing Warriors of the Dark Gods. So here is a quick look at our army lists. This was a 2,500 point game. We are playing 9th Age version 1.3.0. Okay, so this is deployment. So I'll just talk you through the terrain first. Obviously we have a building here, hill. This is a ruin. This green mat here is a forest. Another hill. Field here. Wall here. Field here. And another hill. So lots of terrain. But as it happened, it all sort of randomised on this side of the board. And Jake got to decide which side he deployed on. And he said he didn't want to be particularly bogged down in terrain. So I ended up getting lots of terrain over here. Not much use though. No shooting in Jake's army. So I deployed this unit of demonettes in the forest, knowing that the broken ranks wouldn't be an issue here. Secondary objective here is the hold the middle ground, hold the board midpoint. So let's just go through what is where then. So this is actually a pure Lust army. I didn't have a couple of the models though. So I've got a Lust chariot here, and then I've got 6 fiends of Lust here. This is the Harbinger of Lust on a chariot. Unit of Furies, big unit of Demonettes here, another unit of Furies, and the Shrine of Temptation here. Jake has got the Knights just up here, and then he's got his dogs here in the middle. He's got his warriors with his hero level character. I couldn't remember what it was called. I've tried to download the army book, but the 9th Age website's having a bit of a moment, it seems. Giant here, and then he's got his Change Sorcerer on disc here, and he's got his War Shrine here. Now, what I was thinking at this point was, I can't take on this army directly. I don't really have the strength for it. I've got the armor piercing, but it's just too tough. These guys here have got halberds, so they're like coming in at strength 5. It's scary. So what I am thinking to do is to use my 2 units of Furies to hold up possibly the Giant and the Knights while I try and deal with the Warriors, or vice versa, hold up the Warriors while I try and deal with the Knights and the Giants, and basically pull him apart piece by piece is what I'm going for. Okay, so just before we start then, Jake has done a Vanguard just here in the middle with his dogs. Moved forwards a little bit, but not really pressing it too much because of the movement 10 fiends here. Doesn't want to just throw his dogs away, so he's moving up a little bit, but not so much. So my turn 1 then, and you can see I'm just making a sort of a steady advance really. I've brought the chariot up onto the hill here. I'm trying to get my 2 chariots here round on the flanks as much as I can with my general in the middle here. I'm moving the sirens up. I'm thinking I might be able to take on this block here using the fiends and the sirens at the same time. I'm going to try and bait Jake into some sort of double charge, maybe by dropping a unit of Furies in the way, or maybe sort of trying to cause him to fail a charge with a slightly long but very tempting general or something like that. So yeah, that's my movement. Just a steady move forwards, making sure I stay out of the charge range of these knights with my fiends. So end of my turn 1 here then. Not a lot has happened. There's no shooting in this army, so it was a very very uneventful shooting phase. In the magic phase, I tried to cast the Stars Align on the Fiends, just in case Jake tried a long charge with his knight. He dispelled that, and then I got scrying. I got spell 0 and spell 3 from the law of divination, is it? With scrying and stars align? I think it's divination. So yeah, 1 spell off there. That was it. Okay, so this was Jake's movement phase. You can see that he has brought the knights across the middle, and he'd moved the dogs around. I think he's trying to block a charge on the knights from my fiends. Jake's probably right to recognise that this unit's probably got the most output potential for these knights. So he's moved his knights and his dogs up here. He's advanced with his warriors. He's advanced with his giant. He's advanced with his shrine. So we're sort of just lumbering towards each other across the middle of the battlefield. I've noticed at this point that as Jake's brought his dogs around here, he's exposed this flank to my chariot. So I'm thinking I might be able to run through this line here, but we shall see. Okay, so this is the end of Jake's turn. In the magic phase, he has cast Savage Fury on this unit of knights here, which I let him have because he got a fairly high dice roll. And then he cast Break the Spirit on my general's chariot, which I couldn't have because I just didn't want to take the dangerous terrains too early on, and it was quite a low roll, so I dispelled that one. Yeah, that was pretty much Jake's turn. Okay, so my movement phase 2 then. You can see I've charged this chariot on the side and I've run the Harbinger into the front of the knights. I know that these knights have got Savage Fury, but I'm thinking that I can do this combat first and either overrun or pursue these dogs into the flank of these knights. And I'm hoping that 2 sets of impact hits on this unit is going to be enough to do quite a bit of damage to them. I've just about been able to charge with the fiends. It doesn't look like they can get through, but actually that's because the chariot model here, these two bits here, just sort of hang out over the base, but actually they just fit through, which meant that the fiends could charge the flank of the warriors. But tragically, my demonettes, who are sirens, who are movement 5, failed an 8-inch charge by rolling a double 1. So that was pretty shameful. Chariot has gone into the giant. It was a charge or be charged. And you can see here I've dropped a unit of Furies in the way of the War Shrine just to keep it busy. And I've moved my other units of Furies out here into the middle so they can do a 20-inch swoop to wherever they're needed later on, because I just don't know where they're going to be needed at the moment. Okay, so this is the end of my turn 1. I'd cast the Stars Align on my fiends here, thinking that they were going to be in a little bit of bother trying to take on these warriors on the flank, because obviously the general character is in here. But Jake dispelled that, but that meant that I could cast Scrying on my general, making him a bit harder to hit, as he was up against those frenzied warriors with their strength 5 blades. Anyway, you can see that the dogs broke from combat, and that allowed my demon chariot to hit the side of those knights, and then the double impact hits plus just a combination of attacks and poison and this, that and the other caused the knights to break. They failed a leadership test on a 6 or a 7, and were caught. So doing really well on this side of the board, controlling the flank there. I won combat in the middle here, but I did take... Jake caused 4 wounds on my fiends, even though he was fighting on the side. But anyway, yeah, Jake's obviously steadfast in the middle because he's got 2 complete ranks there, so he held in the middle. Chariot did 1 wound to the giant. the giant did a wound to the chariot, but annoyingly, it also prevented me from striking next turn. So yeah, the chariot might be in a bit of bother for next turn. That's the end of my turn 2. Okay, so this is Jake's turn 2. Not a lot happened here really, because most of his units are already locked in combat. The War Shrine has charged the Furies because it's got to get them out of the way, and the Hounds have rallied using the General's leadership, and he's turned them to face the Chariots, so that later when the Chariots come back, he'll be hopefully able to block one on, which is a pretty sound move really if you've got 2 dogs going spare. And that's it really for Jake's movement phase. He ummed and ahed about whether to reform this unit at the end of the previous combat, wanting to engage this unit on the front, but he was worried that if they held, then he'd get caught on the flank by the Siren, so he decided not to. Okay, so end of Jake's turn here. You can see things have not gone very well for me. He cast Break the Spirit on my Sirens, hoping to pin them in place, which I obviously couldn't have because they need to go in and save those fiends. So I dispelled that. And that was it for his magic phase, so no spells this turn. The Shrine of Temptation really got screwed over because, as well as not being able to attack this turn, the giant got its random attack for a thump, where basically it does 2d6 strength, 6 hits. If the model fails its initiative test. Well, the Sirens are initiative 5. What did I roll on the die? 6, of course. So yeah, the Shrine of Temptation was destroyed pretty quickly, although it did cause 2 wounds in the previous turn, not 1. So that was something. The Furies actually won combat, drew in combat. They got a wound on the War Shrine, and the War Shrine completely underperformed, and so that was a drawn combat, which was very unexpected. The Fiends had an absolute mare of a day. You can see all the dice down here in the corner. 15 attacks, hitting on 4s. Every die was a 1, 2, or 3. It was totally ridiculous. And then the General stepped up, took out a Fiend by himself, and the unit did a couple as well, and then I lost combat, and that number that you see that's left there is basically the result of the demonic instability. So yeah, not a great turn for me. Okay, so end of my movement turn 3 here then. So the Sirens have gone in on the Warriors trying to rescue these Fiends. And then the 2 Chariots, one moved backwards at half speed and then pivoted so that he could get out of the way of the other, which came around here. So the dogs have got to choose one chariot to block. They can't do both. And that was it. Everything else was in combat. Okay, so end of my turn then. Sorry, I did miss something in the previous shot. The Furies here had got in the way of the giant to save the Sirens from being flank charged by him. So, I got the stars align on my Sirens here, which I would thought might enable them to go toe-to-toe with the Warriors, at least for a little while. Obviously, numbers are on my side here, because I've simply got more Sirens than he's got Warriors. And if I'm on re-rolling hits, and even though I'm on 5s to wound, I get more hits through. So I'm just hoping it'll last long enough to get a double chariot charge, or at least a single chariot charge. Bizarre things going on over here on the right side of the board. The Furies caused another wound and then saved both of the wounds caused by the Shrine and actually won combat, which was extraordinary. But the Shrine passed its leadership test, so no massive dramas there. And this combat in the middle here ended up being a draw. So there you go. That was the end of my turn 3. Okay, so Jake's movement turn 3 then. You can see the Giant has charged the Furies, trying to get them out of the way. And the Dogs have made their choice and decided to get in the way of this Siren Chariot. Other than that, the Sorcerer has flown over combat here past his marching leadership test, so that was fine. Just to get out of the way of the Harbinger here. So yeah, that's the end of Jake's movement 3. Okay, so end of Jake's turn 3. In the magic phase, Jake tried to cast a Savage Fury on these warriors, which would have given them frenzy. I had to dispel that. I knew that my Sirens just couldn't sustain that. So I spent my dispel dice on that, which meant that Jake got Break the Spirit on my Harbinger here, which gives him -1 to hit and double dangerous terrain, but there was nothing I could do about that. The Furies caused a wound on the shrine, took 2 wounds themselves, and then passed a leadership test on a double 1. So this extraordinary combat on the right flank just keeps on going on. It's like a circus over there. In the middle here, the Furies caused 1 wound on the Giant. The Giant underperformed pathetically and caused 1 wound on the Fury, so that was a draw, so no leadership test there, which was a bonus because Furies are only leadership 2. In the middle, the Sirens and the Furies killed a couple of warriors, lost combat, and you can see a number of them have popped there. Fortunately, the General was close enough by that I could use her leadership, so that went fairly well. Because now obviously you've got this rear charge coming in here from the General, unless Jake can do something about it. So my movement turn 4 then, you can see that the Harbinger has made this charge into the rear, and then the Siren Chariot has charged these 2 dogs here. Don't have a choice there, just got to get rid of them, so charge there, charge there. Other than that, everything else is locked in combat, so that was my movement turn 4. Okay, end of my turn 4 here then. So you can see it's gone pretty well in the middle. I tried to cast Stars Align on the Sirens, but Jake correctly dispelled that. But I did get Scrying off on the Sirens, which would make them harder to hit. The Furies up against the Shrine here finally died, but no complaints there. They did a spectacular job. So that's fine. Over here, the Furies lost combat, but I did this one before this one, so as to ensure that my General's leadership was nearby, and they passed on my General's leadership. In the middle here, all those impact hits, I've got 5 + 1, so 6 impact hits, caused 4 wounds. General did a wound herself. And then the Sirens and the Fiends between them finished off what was left in the unit. So the General broke and was chased down by the Chariot, and I decided only to chase with the Chariot because I wanted to reform these 2 units ready for what was left of the Giant and the Shrine over here. But I was lucky enough to catch the General there, so this was the moment the battle was won, really. Yeah, end of turn 4. So Jake's turn 4 here then. His Wizard's in no immediate danger, so he stays still. The Shrine has charged the Sirens, and the Giant was already locked in combat. So that's the end of Jake's movement turn 4. So end of Jake's turn 4 here then. It's been another strange one. The Shrine caused no wounds as it charged, so it lost combat by 1 because I had a rank and a standard. But passed its leadership test. And the Giant in the middle here finished off those Furies. I do think Jake should have probably charged on the flank here at the same time. Would be risking the Sorcerer a little bit, but they're only Sirens. And that might have tip things in his favour a little bit here. But anyway, he did what he did, so there you go. So my turn 5 then, you can see the chariot has charged at the shrine in the middle here. The other chariot has come around ready for a flank later on, and the fiends have moved sideways so as to threaten the sorcerer here. And that's the end of my movement turn 5. So end of my turn 5 here. I did get scrying off on the sirens, but didn't make any difference because the impact hits from the chariot and the high initiative attacks from the crew finished off what was left of the shrine. After my heroic furies had done such a tremendous job with it, and then I held there so that I could charge the giant later. Didn't want to overrun and not be able to see him. So that was the end of my turn 5. So Jake's movement turn 5 then. He's done the only thing he really can do, which is to charge the sirens on the front and charge with the wizard on the side. I suppose he could have headed for the hills with the wizard, but I suppose it's a last-ditch thing really, isn't it? You know, if he can break through the sirens and then overrun into the side of the chariot, maybe. But there you go. That's the end of Jake's movement 5. So end of Jake's turn 5 here. You can see he's been really unlucky. The giant got jump as its attack and rolled 3 1s. So it really underperformed when it was inflicting damage on this unit, and then the Chaos Sorcerer wasn't able to tip the balance because of the giant's underperformance, and that meant that when this unit of Sirens took its leadership test, a few survived, which of course really screws Jake over now, because that means he's going to get flank charged by the Fiends here as well as by the 2 chariots here. It could have gone really well for him because, you know, that he would have got the points for this whole unit, and then if the giant had performed and finished off the Sirens, then obviously the sorcerer could have overrun into the chariot here, and the giant could potentially have overrun out of a charge arc. So that could have gone really well for him, but he was just a bit unlucky really. So on to my turn 6, and the inevitable happened, which was a double charge on the sorcerer and the giant. So end of the game then. I managed to get a couple of spells off, didn't really make any difference. The double chariot charge took out the giant with all those strength 5 impact hits, and the wizard broke from combat and was caught. I think, to be fair, Jake was quite unlucky in this game. His shrine is not great against an all-combat army, but it did underperform ridiculously. Or more to the point, the Furies overperformed. The Furies also held up the giant. Now, in one case, that was sort of planned because the general's leadership bubble was used, but there's only so far that goes. Jake did expose his flank with the dogs early on, and I don't think he'll do that again. But to be fair to the lad, you know, he's not been playing long, and that's all that's left of my army, so he's given me a good run for my money, and he's put up with a fairly poor performance from his troops. So good on him, and that's it. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.